Blerds, the work, Mike D, J Supreme. Blerds, the work, Z Ali, Captain Kirk. Blerds, the work, circa 85, Tobias Black. Yeah, welcome to episode 17 of Blerds, the Word Podcast. I'm one of your co-hosts, Mike D. And, I'm flying solo today without my co-host, J Supreme. We wish him well. He couldn't be here tonight, but it's okay because we got friends of the show, starting with Mace the Great.
What's going on? What up,
What up, Mace? And we got Captain Kirk. What's up, bro?
What up? Happy to be back.
Yes, sir. Welcome back to, and as Captain Kirk said, we got to stop really quick and just thank all of the Blerds and the fans who have been listening to us and reminding us that we needed to get back in the fucking studio. We know it's been a while, and while we don't believe in excuses, we just got to say, we have had a hell of a year dealing with this pandemic and the variants and all of the other shit that life throws at you. It has been a challenge, but we are committed to making this podcast a bi-weekly podcast. So we're going to be coming out with new content, new episodes every other Tuesday. We're going to have video content ready for YouTube. We are back in it. And we just want to thank you all for your patience while we work through all of the craziness that 2020 and 2021 brought us. Now, before we jump into all of our hot topics for the day, Mace the Great, I heard you had something that you wanted to get off your chest.
Oh, yeah, most definitely. But first, I want to say, man, it's good to get this product back on the street.
Yes, sir.
The people have been fiending. They've been waiting for it. We finally here.
Yes, sir.
But all right, but to this icebreaker here. So we're all older, right? Mm-hmm. Older guys. Yeah. We ain't too old, but we older guys, right?
Yeah, I guess I'll take that.
And we always talk about the superpowers that we would like to have. So thinking at the age that you're at now, what is a superpower that you would not want?
Damn.
So I'll give y'all a minute to think about it. I'll go first.
Go for it. What's one that you wouldn't want at this age?
All right, man. Look, I'm older. I'm getting older. My body's just shutting down on me. I would say flight.
Really?
Yeah.
So you wouldn't want flight, even if you could fly anywhere yourself, not pay airlines. That's one that you just like, fuck that.
I'd rather sit and coach and strap me in. No flight. Think about it, man. You're thousands of feet in the air. It's cold, and while you're up there, you got to come down. My knees are getting bad. So years and years of superhero landings. Come on, man.
It ain't what it used to be.
It ain't what it used to be. Nah, man. Nah. So I don't think I would want flight.
All right. That's fair. I mean, honestly speaking, I got to follow up to that, but I'll save it. Cap Kirk, what you think, man? What's the power that you wouldn't need at this age in life?
Probably like telepathy, maybe.
Really?
I feel like the older you get, the less you give a fuck about what other people think.
That's fair.
So I'm looking like, do I really want to know, or do I really care that much to even probe your mind?
That's real.
So yeah, reading people's minds. Who gives a fuck?
I gotta kind of agree with that. For me, I honestly, growing up, I love Superman. I've said that often on this show. Like, I was always infatuated with all his powers. But as a 30-something-year-old adult, super strength is like low on my list at this point, especially if there aren't any other super strength like villains to go after. Like, why the fuck do I need to be that damn powerful at this point? I think that's one that like I've grown out of. I don't need to be super strong anymore. I can let that one go. But if I could teleport, goddammit, at this age, and I ain't gotta wait in line for shit, if I could just teleport to wherever the fuck I want to be, and ain't gotta worry about traffic or air travel, then yeah, that's raised on my list infinitely. Whereas super strength is just gone like fuck super strength basically.
I mean, I feel like with super strength though, you could just pull that out at any moment. But like, how is that damaging to you? What can that do to you?
Yeah.
Flying.
I'm thinking about.
I think about my knees all the time, man. You got to land, you go up, you got to come down.
But what role does arthritis play on super strength? You know what I mean? Like,
Right.
your joints, you feel me?
Yep.
You ain't got to be lifting all heavy, you know. When you get a little more mature in the weight room, we ain't, you know, like, let's just get just enough in. Who want to be lifting up a damn bus? Who want to lift a bus?
Right.
At 36.
Right.
You know?
Not me. I don't even want to go in the gym most of the time. Like deadlifts and all that shit. Like, it's a struggle for me to want to do that shit in my 30s. Like 20s, it was something to prove. At this point, I'm good without that, man. So yeah, I think super strength. Yeah, that gets less important, man. Give me some teleportation ability. I think I can rock with that.
All right, that's fair.
All right. Well, look, man, that was a good segue. Let's start jumping into these topics, though. Yo, there's a whole lot of content out there, and I want to just preface this for all the Blerds listening. We did not, in this episode, want to try to tackle all of the shows, all of the movies that have been out recently. We've got time. We will get to them. But we just wanted to pick a few that were our favorites, talk about, and we're going to talk about them with spoilers. So if you haven't seen some of this shit, this is your opportunity to fast forward. We will put the timestamps in the description so you have full access to fast forward to something that maybe you have seen already and you want to just hear our spoilers. But be warned that there will be spoilers in all of the shit that we're going to talk about on the show. All right. That being said, the first movie up, Ghostbusters Afterlife. So by now, we've all hopefully experienced the revival of our beloved Ghostbusters, directed by Jason Reitman, son of the series' original director, Ivan Reitman. In it, we're introduced to Callie, a single mother of two, son Trevor, the mechanic, and daughter Phoebe, the science whiz, who travel to a small town in Summerville, Oklahoma, after learning their grandfather passed, leaving them nothing but a mysterious old house. They later find out the house contains a ton of old Ghostbuster shit, and a spirit that loves to play chess, who we eventually learn is their grandfather and none other than the late, great Harold Ramis, a.k.a. Egon Spengler. Now, critics' reviews on the revival have been pretty mixed. Some, like Roger Ebert reviewer Christy Lemire, called it a goofy movie with a good time, nothing more, going on to call Harold Ramis' spirit depiction as cringeworthy. Others, like Rosie Knight over at IGN, called it amazing and said that it was funny, sweet, and a spooky family movie that proudly takes on the legacy of Ghostbusters while also introducing something exciting and new. So my question for the Blerds who have seen it is, how would you have rated it? Which end of the spectrum do you fall on? And Captain Kirk, since I know that you've seen it recently, I'd like to get your take on it first.
You know what? I never even thought about what I would rate it. I just really enjoyed it. But if I was to give it off the cuff, it was probably like an 8 for me.
Okay. 8 out of 10?
Yeah, it was 8 out of 10. Or what do we call it? What's our
out of five Infinity Stones?
Infinity Stones.
I would have gave it 3.5 stones.
Okay, you just split a stone in half.
No, my math off. It'd be 4 stones. That's an 8. I mean, that's 80%.
Okay.
So 4 stones.
Okay.
All right. 4 Infinity Stones. And I mean, I felt like it had like a lot of heart. I love the tribute aspect of it to somebody that gave to the culture of the franchise and giving like a really heartfelt tribute to it. Pretty much it was centered on the character's legacy, Egon, and even how some of his natural attributes went to his grandkids, which was dope. I like that alone makes it a good movie for me. But then, you know, you saw some classic Busters in there, characters. You even saw some ghosts that they kind of rehashed a little bit. And who doesn't like a movie with Paul Rudd, you know?
Wait, the sexiest man of the year, apparently.
Hey, I was watching The Sexiest Man of the Year for 2.5 hours. Right. Yeah, I think people that bashed it, I think sometimes they expect too much from something that stayed true to the core material, along with adding a whole component of a generation thing. So they could build this series out like it's kids, essentially. running the show. So of course they played off of, what was it,
Stranger Things, yep,
and all this.
Yep.
They played. Who not playing off of that?
Yeah.
But who don't want to see kids get a win? I'm a teacher, so I'm good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I'm an educator, so I rock with it. So it's an 8. It's an 8 for me. Truly good tribute movie, along with adding great things to it.
Yeah, man, and I agree with you. I think I struggled, honestly, when I was putting this review together. I struggled with how to score this, because I felt like I would be nitpicking if I took any points away from it. So I'm gonna be bold on this one, and I hope this ain't one that Jay Supreme go back and run a tape on later. But I'm gonna give it a perfect 5 out of 5 for me. For me personally, I didn't really see a fault that was heavy enough for me to take a point off on this movie. I am a big fan of the original series. And I thought that it was touching, like you said, Captain Kirk. And I see you over there pointing. For those of you listening to the podcast, he is pouring a heavy drink right now. That's either to disagree with me or to let me know that I'm most up to right now. But I honestly, I could not have imagined a more perfect film for true fans of the series. I mean, no knock to the last film with Melissa McCarthy and the all-female cast. I did not enjoy it. I did not think that it played true to the original. For me, it just didn't hit the mark. This film, however, I felt really good about. Like, I felt it paid enough tribute to the past, but also created these new characters in the children who I genuinely liked, and I thought that they could carry on this franchise. I thought that the tribute that they paid to Harold Ramis, which we're going to get into in more detail in a little bit, I thought it was incredibly touching. But I thought overall the movie had heart. I thought it paid tribute, and I could not find too many faults with it. Not to say that they weren't without faults, but I couldn't personally find enough fault to take off a point in the score. So that's my view. But let me ask you, Captain Kirk, what did it feel like for you seeing the spirit of the late Harold Ramis next to the original and the new cast? I mean, you mentioned it earlier. Did you find it to be cringeworthy or touching? Like, which end of the spectrum did you fall on?
I mean, I thought it was touching because it continued, like, what's the outcome of that character, right? Mm-hmm. And also, it made 1,000% sense to me. Like, the way they did it, it was tasteful. They started the movie off with the character, with a silhouette of the character, and they ended it with blatantly, showing the character in spirit form, in the person, right?
Yeah.
And I think if the family approves of it, his actual family, if the people that committed to the series approved of it, like the actors that grinded with him, like, I don't see how we can be, in disagreement of it, especially if it makes sense to the continuation of the story, which it did. It was tasteful. It was tasteful to me. I think most people just try to be a little sensitive to, I always think about T'Challa, Chadwick, and how we were freaking out about that. And he's a bigger, figure, of course. But if it's done with taste to close out something that he would have wanted to close out anyway, as an actor, as someone that wrote the character, like, he created the characters, then let him have that. Yeah. And, or let his family have that, or let the people around him help with that. And so I think they did it the best way possible.
Do you think it was odd at all that they didn't include his voice? Because that was one critique that I've heard from people like Z Ali, who's been on the show, and others have said that they were looking for an actual voice piece, even if they had to use a mod or some original footage. Did you find it was lacking because it didn't use his voice, or did you find it was enough with just the visual aspect?
Bro, I thought that was the best part.
Really?
That they did.
Really?
It's the idea of the person. Like, you talking about spirits, you talking about loss, that's what we experience in life, right? Yeah. Like, without him saying a word, you knew what he meant by actions he was taking. Like, the ghost was moving certain things in place, and even the way he looked at his daughter at the end and gave her the validation and a hug, or even her seeing, like, he kept up with every aspect of his life, but he was focused on saving the world. Nobody believed him. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like, that, you didn't need him to say shit. Yeah. because he was doing things to tell you what his narrative was. Hearing his voice probably would have threw. Now that would have been the part where it's like, damn, this is a little
much,
a little weird.
Yeah,
like maybe they could have bumblebeed that shit from like Transformers. Maybe he was using like audio, you know,
right,
you know, saying that. But yeah, I don't know.
That makes sense. That's, you know, for me, I said earlier that it was touching, but I'll expound on that. I think that for me, it was touching for two reasons. Obviously, in context to the story, you know, the granddaughter seeing her grandfather, the mother getting closure, all of that had heart, right? But seeing the original actors, Bill Murray, Dan Aykroyd, Ernie Hudson, like standing next to their beloved coworker, you know, and how they all started their career, it was hard not to feel that emotion. And when you know the backstory, you know, and I don't know if everyone's aware or not, but, you know, one thing I was aware of is that, you know, Bill Murray and Harold Ramis actually had a falling out in real life after the Ghostbuster films during Groundhog's Day. They didn't speak for years because of some fallout that happened around Groundhog's Day. And so for me, knowing that they hadn't spoken in years up until, you know, he was diagnosed, and that they had so much left unsaid. Any human, I think, would feel an emotion seeing those characters on screen together, because it was like they were saying goodbye to a friend, someone who they started their careers with. And so it was kind of like seeing it from both sides, seeing it from the film perspective of like what it meant for those characters, but also for those who are more familiar with like those individual actors and what that must have meant for them. It was hard. It was hard not to feel something. That's why when I read the reviews later and I was hearing people talk about it being cringeworthy and was it too much, I'm like, yo, that was the most touching part of the film for me. That was the payoff at the end. And I was really glad that they went there, but we had to address that other narrative that is, you know, it exists out there from people who just felt like it was just, you know, too much. Let me ask you this. Were you surprised, you know, Captain Kirk, with any of the Easter eggs or surprised or amused even with any of the Easter eggs to the original films?
Well, I must admit, I don't want anybody to get upset with me. I didn't realize most Easter eggs until I watched the Easter egg YouTube video.
You have to go look it up later.
You know, Ghostbusters was cool, but you know, I was like super fan.
Yeah.
You know? But it did have some nostalgia moments in it. But shoot, a lot of I was like, damn, this one clean on my head. I sound like the obvious, like you brought back the original Ghostbusters, like, or.
Yeah,
it was bad. Or was that Who You Gonna Call?
Yeah,
line?
yeah.
That shit was cute.
Yeah,
it was some cute stuff.
Hey man, look, I fully admit I was one of those kids, man. I came up during that time and I had all of the toys, accessories. My mom's bought me a proton pack when I was a kid, bro, and I was the coolest kid on Halloween. I thought I was running around the crib with one of them joints, the capture joints, throwing it around corners, pretending like I'm capturing ghosts in my crib. Like I was really bought into Ghostbusters. So I think I caught most, but I had to go back and watch some of the YouTube. And the only, I would say all of it was touching. All of it felt sincere. It was great that I think the original director's son had a chance to have his hand in this, because I definitely saw him trying to pay tribute. But I just like the little marshmallow, the Stay Puft Marshmallow boys in the movie. Like, I don't know, that was one of the funniest parts of the first one, when he had to imagine their destroyer and the big Stay Puft Marshmallow Man was going down New York. And to see them bring that back in a cute way at a grocery store, that was probably one of the moments for me. I was cracking up in the theater, probably laughing more than most of the kids, because I just understood where they was coming from when they put that in. But let me ask you this, the final question on this one, Captain Kirk, do you feel like there's enough there for a sequel to this story, or do you think they should end it here on a high note? Where do you think the franchise should go next?
Nah, man, I'm all about continued legacy if the story makes sense, right? So, I mean, it's kids. Like, I mean, you can't really stop like that journey. They just discovered at a very accelerated rate. That's why I got a 4 for me. Like, how the hell you just know how to use a proton pack just off the rip? Like, you just like, all right, I'm boom, like I'm catching ghosts off the rip. No practice, none of that shit.
Harold was helping him, man. The spirit.
I know,
you know?
man. He's
Man,
more
Harold-
advanced nowadays, man. Come on.
Hey, man, hey, I don't give a damn what video games they playing. That shit ain't, that's some high level equipment there. But yeah, I mean, I think they should continue it just to see what is the outcome of that generation being exposed to it. And, you know, it's some cute stories that could go with it.
I
for
feel
sure.
you. I feel you. No, I agree. I think with these actors that they brought in being so young, I think they have every opportunity, much like Stranger Things, to carry this film and have a few other, you know, as long as the script obviously makes sense. And there were 2 after credit scenes that I hope people saw, which I think queue up for there to be a sequel, right? So, you know, they had 2 really good ones that just opens the door if they want to do a sequel for the film. So if you haven't seen it yet and you fast forward it, this is just an announcement. Please go and support this film. It was amazing. Mace the Great, I'm calling you out on this one. You need to go see this film.
Hey, man, I'm getting ready to watch it when we get off of this, man. You know, we're done with this. I'm gonna watch it.
Watch that joint, man. We spoiled it obviously, but it is
fine.
it
That's
is
fine.
it is a great film to watch, and a great continuation of the Ghostbusters legacy. Speaking of continuation, we also got some news this week. Exciting news for those who are fans of Spider-Man Miles Morales, Into the Spider-Verse. We got a surprise trailer. Nobody even knew it was coming yesterday, for Across the Multiverse Part 1. So I just want to ask real quick, because we've literally just gotten this trailer and an October 22 release date. What were your impressions of the trailer for this new Spider-Man Miles Morales joint? And Mace, I'm going to come to you first since you didn't have the opportunity on Ghostbusters, man. What did you think of it?
All right, look, man, I might sound like the villain right now, but I'm a fan of the character, but I'm not a fan of this animation, man. It's 2021. Why we don't have a live action Miles Morales?
Wow.
I know what I usually say all the time is Marvel, give them time. But I feel like we should have been had this. I don't want to watch the cartoon. I'm sorry. I'm just not a big fan.
You're not a fan of the animation?
Nah. And I know Tobias Black is
Ooh,
probably
he gonna be on
and be upset,
fire.
you know.
Yes, he's gonna be mad as hell when he hear you say that, man.
I mean, I'm gonna watch it, you know, but I'm not gonna enjoy it too much, you know.
Wow. Did you like the first one? Did you like the last?
It was all right.
Wow.
It was all right. Just that one dope scene when he was diving. You know, head first.
You are literally the first human being I've heard call that one all right. That was one of the best animated movies I've ever seen.
I didn't call it trash though. It's all right.
You didn't call it trash, but you came
okay.
damn close. Like it was like you walking a line right now. Captain Kirk, I'm watching your reaction, man. What you thinking, bro?
Disrespectful. I'm sorry.
I ain't want to have to set this out this episode since it was just 3 of us. But you are being very disrespectful.
I didn't say it was bad.
On the highest level of disrespect, you just kind. That's why I had to put my drink down. You fucking up my flow, Mace.
Hold on. Hear me out though. I'm saying this. Why don't we have a live action, a physical human being, Miles Morales?
I'm gonna tell you what.
Okay, let's hear it.
Go ahead.
So, you know I'm nosy, so I'll be watching mad interviews on the geek front. Tom Holland already ready to pass it on to Miles, but the whole thing with Peter Parker and Miles, Peter Parker typically plays a mentor to the younger hero. But how you gonna bring in a younger Miles and you still pubescent as hell? So my thing is, what makes sense to the narrative, where Marvel is going, is to he graduating from high school, going to college. He probably got like 2-3 more movies in him. So segue Miles in over the course of this next 2 to 3 movies that he will do, and it feel more organic versus us just throwing a teen in with a teen, because Miles is a teen. You know what I mean? So
I got you.
I think we go that route. But in regards to that cartoon, though, I was kind of happy to get Miles on the Spider-Verse type front and Gwen.
Yep.
And I hope eventually we get them in. But I'm with you. I'm with the rebel for cause, Mace, man. It's just take a little time, baby.
You know what? I think they're going. I think eventually they're going to introduce Miles into the main cinematic universe. I think when they announced that there's 3 more Spider-Man films already planned after this latest one that's coming out, I think that's got to be the eventual next step. I like to believe that people have had their fill with traditional Spider-Man stories. We've had the reboots now several times. Tobey Maguire, Anthony Garfield, and now, we've seen Uncle Ben die enough time. Like, we know that with great power comes with great responsibility. I think the logical next step will be for the studio to introduce the Miles. But in the meantime, dude, these animated films have been fucking amazing. Like, the last Spider-Verse was arguably one of the best animated films since Batman the Animated Series did Mask of the Phantasm. Like, I can't think of too many other animated projects that were that damn good. So anyway, I had a really happy reaction to the trailer. I felt like, this is the beginning of a franchise for Miles, especially, for those who are unfamiliar with them. So be interested to see where they go from here. Captain Kirk, were you getting ready to say something?
Nah, man, I just think it was like not just animated film. Like that was a good quality movie. Like that was like
yeah,
shit. That was damn near perfect to me. Voice acting, storyline, the stakes of the plot. I mean, they killed a Spider-Man within the first 15 minutes of the movie.
Yep.
You know what I mean? Like that shit is pretty, comparable to any live movie that we saw that year that it came out.
Nah, you're right.
Was good.
You're right. I would put it up against, because we've had a lot of Spider-Man films that we can compare it to. I would argue that Spider-Verse was arguably one of the best Spider-Man films, period. But Mace, you disagree?
I mean, it was okay. It wasn't one of the best.
Really?
It was okay.
Well, what's your bar? Like, what's your best, like, 1 or 2 Spider-Man movies then?
The best one, I think Homecoming was the best one.
Homecoming, bro?
Homecoming was the best one.
Wow.
And second best, it was the second reboot.
With Anthony Garfield? Or Andrew Garfield? I'm sorry, Andrew Garfield.
Andrew Garfield, whatever his name is. I don't think that one got enough credit. That whole series. They didn't get enough credit.
Really?
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock is a top one. To me.
Captain Kirk, I was thinking the same thing. I'm like, he didn't even, I don't know if that's borderline disrespectful. I don't want to take your lingo, Captain Kirk, but that feels disrespectful to me.
Wait.
That Spider-Man 2 with Doc Ock would not be mentioned in the category. But Homecoming was.
Out disrespectful. Come on, man. That's not disrespectful. Come on.
Maze.
Look, hey, no shade. I'm not disrespecting my elders. All right, relax, y'all. I'm not trying to be disrespectful. I'm just saying. Y'all ask me what did I think.
Okay, that's fair.
You're right.
Come on, that's fair. It's subjective.
Come on, guys. Come on.
All right, man. We'll give you that, but I think you need to go back and watch Spider-Man 2 again. We come back and have this conversation.
Well, what was that? What was the one where he's dancing down the middle of the street?
That's
like,
okay. That's on. That's
we didn't need all that.
Why did we have one, bro?
Why?
We throw that one out of our. We know what that one was to the series. Okay, that was the downfall of Tobey's run, but 2 was a classic. 2 with Doc Ock was a classic. All right. Anyway. All right, man. Let's transition and talk about some TV shows. Let's get away from movies. We've got more movies, by the way, we're going to talk about next time, but we want to touch on a few TV shows that we've watched recently that we really want to dive into. And the first is True Story. Now, True Story is 7-episode miniseries on Netflix. It revolves around Kid, played by Kevin Hart, who, much like the actor himself, is a famous comedian from Philly. He returns home for a show and reunites with his troublesome brother, Carlton, played by Wesley Snipes. Now, during his visit, Carlton convinces Kid to break his sobriety, resulting in Kid waking up the next day hungover and next to what appears to be a dead body of a woman he met the night before. Carlton brings in Ari, played by Billy Zane, to clean up the mess, but demanding $6 million out of Kevin Hart, who instead of paying decides to kill Ari and hide his body. This leads to a ton of twists and turns throughout the series as Kidd attempts to cover his tracks. Now, critics largely haven't been kind to this series. Brian Tallarico over at Roger Ebert was quoted as saying, "There's just not enough realistic human behavior here in a story that relies on coincidence and deep suspicion of belief." But, Blerds, we know that when it comes to the culture, there are some projects we see with a different lens than mainstream critics. So overall, what were your impressions of True Story? Do you all agree with the critics like Brian, or did you feel like this was a great series? And I'll start it off again with Mace the Great. What'd you think, man?
First and foremost, man. Fuck them critics, bro. I enjoyed it. I enjoyed it. You know what's crazy? I started the series. I watched it by myself. Like I got up to like the 4th episode. And I was like, nah, you know what? I got to bring my girl in on this, man. I got to bring her in because if I experience this alone and then she experienced it after me, she's going to be upset. I think to see Kevin Hart play such a serious role when we're so used to like him playing something, something goofy, or telling his little lame jokes, it was different. It was a different range for him. Like I enjoyed it. I thought it felt realistic to me. The interaction and everything, his interaction with his brother, with Wesley Snipes, that character, felt real. It felt like I was watching two siblings really go at it. Just the little jabs that Wesley Snipes' character was throwing at him. It all felt real to me. I enjoyed the series, man. I think that he shined a light on celebrities as far as like what they can experience, how they get extorted and all of that. It was pretty dope, man.
Okay.
Fuck them critics,
Fuck
man.
them critics.
Fuck them critics.
All right, so, but if you had to give it a score out of 5 Infinity Stones, Mace the Great, how many would you give it?
I'll probably give it probably like a 3.5.
3.5. Okay. All right. So,
that's fair, right?
That's fair. That ain't a full fist. It's just enough to like get the party started. All right.
Get it going,
Captain Kirk, I see you're not in agreement. What you think, man? What did you think of True Story?
Yeah, I would give it 3. 3 out of 5 for sure. It was just some parts of it that was really unbelievable, given how it was trying to be centered on something drama and realistic. It turned into like watching like Power for me. You know what I'm saying? Like that's how that shit felt.
Yeah.
All right, and I'm gonna tell you the pieces that really just fucked me up. Was just like, all right, I gotta turn everything that makes sense off because this shit here ain't. I had to switch my mode because the first episode was kind of strong. You know what I mean? Like the interactions between him and Carlton, and the development into like the what was gonna be the base of the whole show, right? Like that build up was pretty good. Even Wesley and how Kevin acted off of each other. Yeah. But first off, all right, 2 points of reference. They ain't get no history on a Kidd being like pretty much the most vicious motherfucker in the show.
Right.
Like I needed to see him at a gun range because them last 2 shots he took, them last, like be real, Mace, where the fuck that come from, bro? This motherfucker, bow, bow, like one hitters, one apiece, headshots, bro. Like for real. For real. Okay. And then and let's get to the second episode. He chokes up a man that's 2 feet, probably weigh 150 pounds more than him. In no context, but no context before
That's real.
That he had like that edge to him. And the last piece that made no fucking sense. His mans. His guard, his bodyguard. Hear how much he paid Ari. It was gonna pay Ari. And then he just come out the blue. All right, I'm gonna need $6 million in. Like, what the fuck? Like, it just like for real, bro. Like, y'all was like okay with that. That shit made sense to his character progression. Like like, oh, just give me well, that's my $6 million. And then Kevin just like, okay, the best fucking part of that damn TV series was fucking Gene behind the scenes. He was the best actor in there. Like, if you really watch, like, The Stand, what was it? Was it Gene? Yeah, it was Gene.
Yeah, Gene. Yep.
Gene fucking ass
had
the most, in his eyes, and even his background made sense as to why he was obsessed with the character of Kid.
Yeah.
That made the most sense in the movie. The girl that was supposed to be opened up in Madison Square Garden, sappy. I don't even know. All right, it was cute at first. What the fuck was your end of the piece? She just disappeared at the end, essentially.
Pretty much.
All right, you say I'm going on a tangent.
No. That's what I was hoping for. That's what I'm hoping for.
But that shit, Mace, bow, bow.
I took a bullet for you. What do you mean? Why am I asking for $6 million? I took a bullet for you. I'm gonna request some money out of you. Come on, bro. You got it. But so that loyal he was that treacherous. At least Carlton had a backstory of treachery. Like that, he was a conniving big brother, right? Right.
But this fucking dude been nothing but
loyal. Yep.
And I would have had like, all right, like give me some context that leads up to that decision. You ain't get no context outside. You went from an honorable motherfucker to a deceitful person in a matter of 10 seconds.
Was it deceit? Was it deceit though? Like, I mean, it was like,
come on,
yo, I just got shot for you. Like, I just took a bullet for you.
Me and my girl in danger.
In the same line, he said, "Why you ain't tell me so I can help you? Help you, fucking Brian? you fucking bitch ass nigga. Like what?"
He might have been able to come up with a different solution. I kept thinking, let me just say this. I kept thinking, like, why wouldn't he have because it was clear that dude was loyal to him. Why wouldn't Kid have brought him in sooner? Like, yo, this is the situation. It's fucked, but this is the situation. Like, I agree with him. Like, why did he bring him in sooner? I don't know. To me, he earned enough loyalty to be told, like, yo, we in a really fucked up situation right now. Because I feel like if he had brought him in sooner, like, all of that, you know, like him having to kill Ari and all that shit, like, it probably could have been avoided. Like, he probably could have figured out that old girl was still alive and was just a part of this. Because one thing about this movie that like from the jump, I remember watching the first episode and I told my wife, I was like, yo, I see this plot. I see how it's going to turn out. Because when they played that joke, that practical joke on the guy who worked at the hotel, when he came up to the room and Wesley was acting like he was just some random up there, like that was his. I was like, that bait and switch, I was like, that's the template for the entire show. Like, I just called it. I was like, he's going to play him. He's going to play Kid the same way they just played this hotel worker. And it ended up coming together just like that. I knew old girl wasn't dead. Like, when they was talking about, like, yeah, we wheeled her away and I took her. Like, nah, she alive, bro. And it came to pass. So for me, the predictability of the script, like the way that I was able to it took a few points off for me. So I'd probably give it a 3 out of 5 too. But, you know, I will say though, a lot of folks are giving credit to Kevin Hart, like you said earlier, Mace, for his role in the series, showing a lot more depth than usual, playing I don't know if you call him a villain or an anti-hero, whichever you prefer. But how did you all feel about Kevin Hart's performance in the series? Do you think that this is a step in the right direction for him? Like, would you like to see him in more serious roles? Or are you like, yo, get back to telling jokes? Like, Captain Kirk, since I see you shaking your head, I'm going to come to you first on this question. What you think about his performance, man?
Man, I had to pray before every episode. Because it's so hard for me to, like, see him in that way. And I had to check myself because I'm looking like, bro, in my mind, every time he tried to go deep with his acting, I was like, man, shut the fuck up, Kevin. Like, man, let Wesley do that shit. Let Gene behind the scenes do the, you know, like, it's so hard. But I actually liked his layers better in the Upside when he was trying to take a dramatic turn. Some parts of this, not all, because he did do a good job, so I'm not going to say. Some parts of this did seem forced or out of his range to me. But it could have been, I was trying to see, was it the script? Was it the ridiculousness of that fucking plot over the course of time? it just, he didn't have enough backstory to make his dark turn make that much sense, right?
Yeah.
And I think that's what was kind of like looking at him when he was choking up my man. It was kind of like, okay, this is a surprise, but at the same time, like, okay, like even when he was saying, "Motherfucker, trying to like somebody little brother, like I already get this little motherfucker off." You know what I'm saying? Like, get this little. They should have picked a smaller man.
Smaller.
This ain't like Ong Bak or, you know what I'm saying? Like, what, you like a little fucking martial artist. Fuck, this is a comedian that clearly has marksmanship and mild above average strength, superhero strength. Cause only time he look weak is when Wesley put fucking paws on him.
Hey, Wesley.
That's the only time
Hey, Wesley went full blade on that nigga too. he went full blade.
Which again makes the shit not even make sense.
Yeah.
Because you handled this other motherfucker, and then Wesley pretty much toss you around. Like, whatever. He ain't even get a punch in. I'm just
Come on.
Mace, what you think, man? I see you over there.
I think he readed too much into it.
Okay.
The man is sitting down. He didn't see it coming. He got choked up. You don't have to have super strength for that, man. He didn't put his hands around. He put a cord around his neck. Now the whole the ending part with him shooting. Yeah, that was. I looked at that like, all right, come on now. But come on, man, give him a little bit more credit.
Just a little bit. Just a little bit more credit.
A little bit.
I don't know. I gotta kind of agree. I thought parts of this were just wildly like unbelievable. But I will say I am a fan of Kevin Hart's new, like, his desire to try to break out of the bubble of just being a comedian actor, like taking on more serious projects, from Fatherhood to this. I forget the role that the movie with him and Bryan Cranston. I like to see him trying to spread his wings a bit and trying to take on more serious roles. I think he's getting there. This was one of the few roles where I was like, okay. Maybe it was because it was so close to who he is as a person, as a comedian and everything, that I was able to believe more of it. But I will say, for the Blerds out there, Theo Rossi, who was the actor behind his fan, was also in a film called Luke Cage. Well, a series. Luke Cage. He played Shades. Yeah.
Shades, yep.
He's an amazing actor. And I think he plays these type of roles, like these weird guy type of roles, but like with intensity. And so, yeah, he definitely, I think he played that role really well. Go ahead, Cap Kirk.
So, he is an amazing actor. For those of you who are fans of Sons of Anarchy, he was probably one of the most layered characters if you ever check out that show. Now, I agree with you, Mike. This dude need like a TV series, a drama TV series. Like, Netflix pretty much using them in little sections anyway. They might as well just go ahead and give your boy some love. And I just want to take time to give him that love because my drink is flowing, so I'm getting emotional now.
Okay.
But he was one of the best parts of True Story to me.
Okay. All right. Hey, man, listen, I respect it. He was, but while we're talking about great performances, this is an excellent segue into something that I don't think we could take away from. So this was also the first time we've seen Wesley Snipes in a serious role in recent years. We've seen him in some comedic stuff. He did Coming to America 2. He did, there's one other project he did. Chirac, where he played kind of a comical character. But this is the first time we've seen Wesley Snipes in a more serious role in recent years. And it's the first time we've seen Billy Zane. Where the fuck has Billy Zane been? I haven't seen him since Titanic or The Phantom. Some Blerds might remember him for The Phantom from way back when. What did you think of their performances? Did you feel impressed with Wesley, or Billy Zane. How did you all feel? Base, I saw you shake your head. What'd you think?
That was impressive by Wesley Snipes, man. I really thought he was a shitbag. Like, I really was getting upset with this dude.
A shitbag? What did he do to deserve that?
You set your brother up. Come on, dude.
Oh, you can way back to
extort your brother.
New
But no,
Jack
it's
City.
cool. It was cool though. It was cool though seeing him on the screen. We last saw him in what? Coming to America?
Yeah, Coming to America 2 was the last time we've seen him.
Yeah, I wasn't really too impressed with that performance.
Yeah, I mean, he's been playing comedic type roles since he's been out. I think this may be, since he's been out of prison, this may have been his first serious role. And Captain Kirk, keep me honest on that. But what did you think of his performance?
Yeah, I thought Wesley was probably my second or third highlight of the movie. I mean, Wesley's a dope actor, but you can tell like he trying to get his footing with it again. Even with watching this, you could tell how he progressively got kind of better with like how he was depicting the character and all that stuff. Even the worry he was showing when Gene was getting his ass beat, like without saying nothing, he knew how to convey like uncertainty and worry and stuff like that. So I thought Wesley was and Billy got 179 movie credits.
What?
Yes, 179. He's been in, I just counted this shit up, like 7 movies in 2021. So he like they may be B movies, but that motherfucker working. That's for sure.
Okay.
Yes, 179, bro. That's like up there with Samuel L. Jackson type shit.
Well, correct. I'm happy to be corrected on that shit because I loved him back when I was a kid watching The Phantom. That was me and Z Ali that we loved that movie, but it was a little sung. That was like one of the first black superheroes, but like it just didn't get no publicity. And then he was in Titanic, but I hadn't seen him since then. I didn't know he was in that much shit.
Yeah.
Damn.
He been working, bro. He been working.
Damn, I see you, Billy Zane. I see you. All right. Well, man, this was an interesting series that I didn't know anything about going in. It sounds like, from all the reviews, solid 3 out of 5. Check it out if you haven't watched it already. I think you'd really be impressed with some of the performances. Just, kind of like take your imagination with the plot because a lot of that shit is going to be unbelievable. Let's transition to another series, which has Blerds talking, and that's Hawkeye. So, as the name suggests, Hawkeye is about Clint Barton, who has been called by many the most boring Avenger ever. However, it also introduces Kate Bishop to the mix, a girl from a wealthy family who becomes an expert archer and martial artist after losing her father in the Battle of New York back in the original Avengers movie. The two meet when an auction is hijacked for Ronin's costume, and Kate manages to snag it, wear it, and beat the hell out of a group of Russian mobsters calling themselves the Tracksuit Mafia. Now, Clinton must save Kate from the enemies he created during his run as Ronin. In the latest episode, we learn that the head of this mafia group is none other than Maya Lopez, a.k.a. Echo, who wants revenge on Ronin for the death of her father. She may be deaf and using a prosthetic leg, but we soon learn she is an expert fighter, an absolute badass with a mysterious uncle whose laugh has gotten the internet theorists going absolutely batshit crazy. But before we get into that, Blerds, what are your impressions of the show so far? And it's only 3 episodes in, but are y'all liking the show? You hate it? Where you fall on the spectrum? I'm going to go to you first, Mace the Great.
All right. I hate that I'm getting ready to say this.
Uh-oh.
I really do.
Uh-oh.
But with this show, I think I'm in agreement with Jay Supreme. With that. Now, I personally feel like it's okay that it's there.
Yeah.
But do we really need this one? I'll watch it because it's available and it's okay. But like you said earlier, and everybody agrees that Hawkeye is probably the boring Avenger. This buff, he going death and shit. Like, come on, like, man, like, it's really nothing exciting about this one, honestly. I mean, like I said, it's there.
Yeah.
So, but hey, it's Marvel. Give them time.
You know, I gotta give credit though. The way they played him becoming deaf, like, you know, like of all the shit he's been through, the explosions that he's been near. If you think about Endgame, like he was in the Avengers, it was not the tower, but whatever the Avengers base was when that missile hit, you know, from Thanos. He's been, for a human being to go through that shit, like you're probably gonna have some hearing loss. It made sense and it humanized him. But I also think that it's been an interesting way of showing people, you know, with disabilities in these shows too, like between him and Echo, both. But before I go off into that tangent, Captain Kirk, what did you feel about the show so far?
I think most of the TV shows are building towards the next tier for Marvel. So I like Kate Bishop. It stays true to who Hawkeye has been. He's been like a mentor hero, essentially. He's been the most grounded one, even though it's boring, but like he keeps people honest around him. But he mentored Wanda, humbled Quicksilver. You know, now he has Kate, I guess, under his belt a little bit. So I'm all for that. And plus, we never really got to see the Ronin aspect, like that journey for him and how it impacts him. So I kind of want to see how that plays out, but I also want to see how they transition Kate, because even in the comic books, like Clint didn't have hearing. His hearing was fading. I think it was a part in a comic book from like the 80s where he stabbed his eardrum to stop a villain from being able to like control his mind or something like that. Something crazy. But anyway, just a quick tidbit. But in this particular case, it humanizes him. But you know, Kate, who do we have? We got Jane Foster for Thor coming up. We got Miss Marvel coming up for Captain Marvel. You know, we got like all these next generation heroes that they would have just plopped in a movie versus building them out. So Kate's story arc is just as important as how you close Hawkeye's story, which they need to do for all of the heroes. Nobody can just fucking disappear unless they kill them, to me. Close out Cap. You close out Iron Man. You gave Black Widow her clothes. Give fucking Hawkeye his. And when Bruce Banner go, Thor go, like make it all make sense so fans have their closure so they can move on to the next person you plop in that motherfucker. So I'm hoping it's a closeout for him.
That makes sense. So do I. And it seems like that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to bring in the new Avengers and maybe close out, you know, each of the original Avengers that we saw, each of their storylines, which I'm down for. You know, for me personally, the first two episodes didn't wow me. First two episodes, I felt like Kate Bishop was completely unrelatable. I mean, maybe it's just because I didn't come from a wealthy background or whatever, but like, it just seemed like when she shot that bell tower and her mom was just like, oh, I wrote the university a check and it's done, you know, get a dress for this banquet. What kind of privilege is that? Like you just destroyed a whole bunch of property and it's like you just go to a banquet after that, you know, to some rich guy's auction. It was hard for me to connect with her character at all. First two episodes. I think they really caught their stride though in the third episode. I will say I saw the reviews of the third. I said, all right, well, let me give this a try. And I think the third episode finally solidified her and Clint's relationship, like how they see each other. The chase scene, like on the freeway with him and the trick arrows, like him having the pin particles in that one arrow that like crashed down. I thought all that was spectacular. I was like, yo, that's finally the Hawkeye that we deserve to see. Because in the movies, he didn't really have a chance to show, like in the comics, you know, Hawkeye has like this quiver with all kind of just amazing ass arrows. But the movie only allowed for so many of those to get shown. So I was happy to see that in the third episode. I was happy to see Echo. I think that what we're all now trying to figure out, right, is like that laughing voice. So let's get to the meat of it, because that's been what's causing the most noise in the Blerd universe. There was a voice, you know, a laugh in the third episode when her uncle was on screen. that many people believe is the voice of Vincent D'Onofrio, aka Wilson Fisk from Daredevil. And so my question to y'all is, if the rumors are true and they're going to introduce Wilson Fisk, aka Vincent D'Onofrio, what does that mean for the larger MCU? Do y'all think that this is possible? Do you think that this will lead into us seeing Daredevil? Because that's been rumored that Daredevil will be, in a future Spider-Man project. Do you all think that there's some legs to this? Did you get that impression from the laugh, or do you think that this is all just fandom? And Captain Kirk, I'm gonna go with you first.
Man, I don't trust these fools since WandaVision, bro. Like, I don't trust it at all. We're gonna see how it play out, but I would love for Daredevil to complete his run, like closure. Punisher was amazing. And fucking Kingpin was the most detailed, layered villain that they introduced that we kind of sniff at because he wasn't on the big screen. But they gave him the best backstory as to why he is who he is. So yeah, hopefully, but I don't know. And real quick, so I agree with you, Mike, on the point you made about Kate, her not being relatable. In the books, her backstory, she was rich, but she was given to the needy and she was taken advantage of. She was like sexually assaulted.
Oh, really?
So that's what started her journey. She was in counseling, and basically what it said was like, do you take control over what happens next to make sure that it doesn't happen again? That was her like thought process. So the training, like the Batman-ish type training, that was the reason why behind it.
Wow.
So they missed the ball with that one, but it's Disney, so they probably like, yeah, let me go ahead and avoid that, So,
wow.
But it made a lot more sense in the books for sure. My bad.
That's good
I would love
context to bring up, and I'm curious to know like how you feel about it. So like I hadn't read that comic part of her backstory. So like, when you see this version of her, how does that make you feel? Like having seen her with that much depth in the comics, and then to see it kind of like in a watered down version, you okay with it? What does that make you think of?
I get why they avoid it because it is very heavy content, right? That you don't just want to throw in the first 3 episodes of a show. But them rooting it in, like her dad being killed, I don't know. You weigh it like reading it in the books. It's just like, yo, that makes sense why she's so detailed the way that she is. But she's much more playful in this one. She an asshole in the comic, like very straightforward and direct. Like in this one, she's much more playful and direct, but she got to play little sister to Hawkeye, so it makes sense that they make her more like a cute version of her. Yeah. My bad though. Cool. I'm with it.
Okay.
Yep.
Mace the Great, what do you think in terms of it possibly being Vincent D'Onofrio in this? Does that change things for you? How did in terms of how you see the show? Like, were you at all excited when you started reading the fandom? Because I know, like you said, he was like, I wasn't really too impressed with this show. But will it change things for you to find out that they're going to bring back Wilson Fisk from Daredevil?
I'm not going to get too excited because I made that mistake with the previous shows they had. It's Marvel, give them time. I just learned that. I'm not going to make any predictions. I'm just going to ride it out and see what happens, man. So far, that was episode 3? Yep. We got 3 more, right?
Yep.
And the only impressive episode was this one. So I'm not too excited about it. I'm going to just ride it out, see what happens.
Okay.
Hey, we'll see.
All right, we'll see. Hopefully, Hawkeye becomes a better series than WandaVision.
Wait. WandaVision was good. It was okay. This is probably the worst.
Which one's the worst?
This one, Hawkeye.
Oh, well, yeah. There's only 3 episodes there, but let's give it time. Like you said. All right, well, look, before we jump out of TV topics, I just want to ask really quick, because there are a ton of TV shows out there. Every streaming service has their show right now. So before we move off of TV, I just want to ask you each if there's a show that you think Blerds should be watching right now that you've watched, and you're like, yo, I just got to give a quick plugger to this show. Check that shit out. Let's see, Captain Kirk, you put me on one recently, so I'm gonna start with you and just see if you would agree. But which TV show would you say people need to be watching, Blerds need to be watching right now?
I got two. I'll start with I always don't even know if I'm saying it right. Arcane is based on a video game, League of Legends.
Yes.
Wildly popular video game that I knew nothing about.
Yep.
But I guess it's a worldwide type of thing with this video game. You could play it on your phone, if I'm not mistaken. Yep. And it basically, you can watch it on Netflix, but it's centered around two young girls that was traumatized by a war that took place between, let's just say, the underground and the upper ground, right? And how they were affected by it. But I think in terms of, it's the same studio that did Spider-Verse, that did the animation for it.
Okay, I didn't know that.
Riot Games has a high affiliation with it. They focus on high story, awesome voice acting. You have Haley Steinfeld. I forgot the young lady from Yellow Jacket. She does the voice of Jinx. Haley Steinfeld does the voice of Vi. It just is the most layered, beautiful story that I've seen in animation, and it got like a lot of heart. So I'm gonna say, if you do pick up the show, watch the first 3 episodes.
Yes, sir.
You're gonna be hooked.
Yes, sir.
I stand by it. Yep. IGN was not bullshitting.
Yep.
It is a 10 out of 10 show.
Yep.
And it leaves you wanting so much more. You got action, you got drama, you got high stakes, and then you have this 2 parallel things. A sister that got locked up and a sister that was broken by trauma.
Yep.
And how are they trying to save and play off of each other along their journey? So I don't want to spoil too much, but what I do want you to do is check out that damn show.
Yes, sir.
And the second show would be C. And I know all of y'all have probably watched that.
Yes.
But C with Jason Momoa.
Yes.
And, Batista made a visit in the second season. Yep. C is
incredible,
like Game of Thrones to me. The world is expanding, the characters you love. Jason Momoa is just like a gem to the field to me. Like, this dude, people just don't understand how gifted this dude is. And all right, so just quick overview. Everyone's blind. They've been blind for 500 years or so, something like that, like on the world. But of course, it's a couple of people with sight. And so you're trying to figure out sight. People with vision are looked at like witches, essentially, right? Yep. But the most, that part is like the obvious part they'll do with a show like this. The most beautiful part is, how do people go to war?
Yeah.
Given that they can't see.
Yep.
And how the direction of the show, the details that they do, like how do you navigate a world that you can't visually see, but how does it enhance you as a human being?
Yeah.
You could pay attention to heartbeats,
Yep.
pace of steps, like even the fight scenes. It's the best you'll see. It's like you compare that shit to like fucking The Matrix.
Yep.
Like the detail that they put into it.
Yep.
And Jason Momoa's like fucking Incredible Hulk, man. It's pretty dope. So I would say watch C. It's 2 seasons. You could binge watch that thing. It's only about 8 episodes. But that was a highlight of my Thanksgiving break. Was binging that.
Man.
Yeah.
Bro, let me just say real quick before we move off of your 2, like, both really good recommendations. I've watched both. So Arcane, I watched off his recommendation. And let me just say, Blerds, he's not exaggerating. I didn't know shit about League of Legends, but that was one of the best animated scripted shows I've watched in a long time. It had a ton of depth. After the 3rd episode, I was like, oh, I'm canceling all my plans for the weekend. Like, that show was incredibly well done. And in terms of C, let me just say, I was a skeptic of Jason Momoa. I will fully acknowledge that I did not think that man had acting chops. I was like, he plays great on roles where he has to look good and speak a language that doesn't exist. But like, I did not think that he had more acting chops in that. And I will admit when I'm wrong. I watched C, and when you see the level of depth that he plays in that role, not only as somebody who can't hear, but somebody who is in deep love with his wife and his family, and the decisions that he has to make for his kids. I won't spoil anything, but like he shows some depth in that character that like I was super impressed with. So like I'm not on second season yet. I will finish it before we record the next the next episode, but I agree. One of the things about that show, though, I will caution our female listeners about. My wife found it like the main queen in the first season. There are some scenes with her and how she prays that I will just say it was like, yo, like what the hell are we watching? Like,
we don't want to lead y'all blindly into that show. No pun intended.
Right.
All right.
Right.
But, and I'm going to say it because it's going to happen in the first episode. It ain't like it's big to the plot.
Yeah.
She basically masturbates when she prays.
She prays, pretty much.
Hold on.
Yeah, it's weird.
But
she do what? Hold
it's
on.
weird.
It's crazy.
Bro.
Yeah.
But her, the actress.
Yeah, she's good. She's solid as an
She
actress.
cold.
Yeah.
Like she makes the show.
Mm-hmm.
Like the second season, it's everybody on that hit.
Yeah.
Everybody. Like quality acting. So check it out.
Gotcha. All right. So I'm gonna check out the second season, but that's a great recommendation. Mace the Great, what you got, man? What you been watching that you like? Yo, Blerds need to be checking this out right now.
Season 2 of Tiger King. Man.
Really?
No. You know, I've been meaning to check out C. I've been hearing a lot of great things about that.
Yep.
I think you all mentioned that before to me to check that out. So I'm gonna add that to my list. That's on Apple TV,
Yes,
right?
sir. Apple TV.
Okay. Yeah. Just just the normal stuff. Power. You know, we didn't talk about that.
Forgot
I mean,
Power was back on. Yo, how has this
Yes.
season been? Like, this the one with Tyreek again, right?
Yeah, this is Tyreek. He's trying to juggle school and selling dope, and he's rubbing shoulders with politicians and all this stuff. It's one of those things you want to just sit down and just watch something.
Yeah.
It's there. It's available.
Okay.
So,
All right. I'll check that out. Anything else?
no dope summaries like you guys giving on like C and all that. It's okay. It's okay. It's just something to watch.
I'm gonna be honest, man. The Power universe to me has just gotten so far from reality that it's hard for me to come back to it. I mean, I watched a little bit of Tyreek's first season, but like some of those subplots between the professors, you know, having affairs with students and all that, some of it just did not interest me. I have been saying I will start it back and see where it's going, and a new one's getting ready to start, right? The one with Tommy, aren't they getting ready to like pilot his show? Okay, so I'm gonna jump back in eventually, but I haven't been in a huge rush for it. I will say though, I think you know BMF. I think we talked about this earlier. In terms of needing a crime type show, BMF has filled my appetite lately for a crime type show.
Yeah. I finished that one too, but I'd rather wait for our boy Jay Supreme to come back and talk about that. I know he got some stuff for that, man.
So for you all listening, Jay Supreme is a huge, like he knows the history, the intimate history of like mafia, you know, and just mob and bosses. Like he does a ton of research. And so like we're going to have him on next time and talk more about BMF and how the show stands up to the true life of BMF. So we'll continue that discussion, but those are some really great recommendations. Let's transition though from TV into gaming, because there's been a lot of stuff going on within gaming lately. And, you know, I know this is something Mace and we've been playing recently. So we're going to start with Guardians of the Galaxy. All right. So Square Enix, the publisher of Marvel's Avengers, arguably one of the biggest gaming letdowns in years, released its newest project recently in Marvel's Guardians of the Galaxy. Unlike the Avengers, however, this game focuses solely on telling a single-player campaign story without the unnecessary bullshit Avengers tried with its game-as-a-service, microtransactions, and multiplayer. This game takes the same characters we love from the movies and drops them into an entirely original story. It has new voice actors who perfectly captures the personalities of each character and a soundtrack that is everything that you'd expect from a cassette player hanging on Peter Quill. So most of the reviews have been good to Guardians, but we're here to get a Blerds take. So, Mace, I'm just going to start with you because I know you've devoted some serious hours already to the game. What's your take on it so far? How would you review it?
Look, man, this is probably one of the best single-player games that I've played in a very long time. I would say the last single-player game that I played and enjoyed was probably God of War.
Wow.
And then this. Just everything about this, man. You mentioned the soundtrack. The soundtrack is dope. The graphics are amazing. I'm really pushing my PlayStation 5 to limits.
Yes.
The frame rates are just crazy.
Yep.
The dialogue between the characters, dude, nonstop. I'm just laughing because it's hilarious. It reminds me of, just watching the Guardians of the Galaxy, the movies, and how they interact with each other.
Yes.
Dope.
Yes.
For this to be a single player game, and I know that it's probably a short one, but I am taking my time with this.
Yeah.
I'm taking my time with this. I'm trying to explore every little bit of the maps I can. And I want this to last for 100 hours if I can.
Well, I hate to disappoint. It don't quite get to the hundreds. You wanted to, though. I will say this game is much longer than I expected it to be. So, so I've actually beaten the game, and it took me a solid 30 to 40 hours to complete the whole main story. And I was like you. I took every advantage to explore the maps, find collectibles. I found every costume pretty much for all of the characters and all the nuanced stuff. And I was always, toward the end game, especially trying to prolong it. I didn't want it to end. It was a perfectly told story, which fit all of the characters, told a lot more about their background that the movies couldn't really get into. And the voice actors, I just thought did an incredible job. They didn't try to become the characters like we saw in the movies, but they had the same personality. They weren't trying to mimic the same voice, but they carried it. And I like you said, I think the frame rate was amazing. The only complaint I have about the game, and this is one area where I've just got to be completely honest with those listening. If you play it, the fighting mechanics in the game don't get terribly interesting. The fighting mechanics, it evolves over time. You learn some new skills for all of the characters, but after about halfway through the game, you pretty much know the battle system. You know how it's going to work. You know what the weaknesses of certain characters are and what you have to do to survive an encounter with multiple people. But it doesn't get terribly complicated. It's not like some games where there's this huge skill tree and you have to make really tough decisions. It's not that type of game. It's a very simple type of battle system that for some might get redundant after a while. But to me, the fighting and that sort of thing was always background. I was just always impressed with the story, with the amusement of the mashups when they would have everybody come in together and fight. All of that was just like watching a movie to me. So I think if I had to give it a score, I'd probably give the game a 4 out of 5. It was a really solid game. But my question is for you, Mace. There's been an argument about this game and other games that focus fully on a single player campaign experience. Are they worth it anymore? Because the whole push lately has been toward games that give you a ton of shit in game to do, have a multiplayer for you to do. So those are the games that demand a $70 price tag. Do you feel like there's still room for games like this? Would you still pay full price for a game like this? Or do you think single player campaign modes like this are just good for maybe half that? What's your opinion on what you would pay for an experience like this?
What's crazy? When I bought this, I paid for this game. I paid full price for it. And as soon as I purchased it, it went on sale. So I was just like, all right, let me just check it out. Maybe I can get a refund or whatever. But to be honest, man, with this story, this amazing story, the gameplay, everything that it offers, I don't mind the price tag. If it's something that can just kind of take my mind off of, just anything, and I can just kind of just get so engaged with this story, I'm cool with it. I'm cool with paying $60 whatever I paid for it. Now I'm a huge multiplayer guy. Like I play a lot of Halo. I play a lot of Apex Legends. Like, you know, I do all that stuff.
Yep.
But this was a great break from all of that.
Yeah, I agree.
So I don't mind it. I honestly don't mind it, man.
I agree. Hey, Captain Kirk, I see you shaking your head, man. I mean, I know it might have been a minute. Gaming has been secondary. You got a lot of stuff going on, but like if you had to pay $60, $70 for a game right now, would you be willing to pay that for a game with just a strict single player campaign mode, or does it have to have like in-game content or multiplayer for you to be interested?
Nah, I like the single player vibe. It's my journey. The way I want to play it is my own. It don't play off of anybody else. You know, it was I think the last one I played was Last of Us. It was like,
wow.
You know, straightforward. Boom, 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 boom. Yeah, I think those are the best, most intimate type of games too. I do get, from a competitive standpoint, like multiplayer gives you like the ability to talk shit. It's not as much fun. It's not as much fun like playing against the computer. You know, let's say it's like Mortal Kombat or something. I'm busting the computer ass, as it is playing next to somebody or playing online with somebody and really knowing that you're pissing somebody off because you're that much better than them. So it's just like all about like the vibe. But for me, the age I'm at now, just like a personal journey, something I could kind of ride out and then contingent upon playing with others. Yeah. For sure. So yeah, Guardians of the Galaxy actually sounds very appealing.
Well, man.
For sure.
It is.
Well, man, go ahead, Base.
I was going to say, just, you know, as long as the game is complete.
Yeah.
You know, because lately, you know, these developers, they just been releasing stuff and it's like, okay, we're going to release an update for it. It's not fully completed yet. You know,
Cyberpunk.
With this, great. It seemed like they took their time with this, and I guess they learned from their mistakes with the Avengers and realized, like, okay, we have to do something a little differently this time.
Man, as somebody who paid full price for Avengers, I would tell you all, like, I had every reason to be skeptical this time around, but I am glad that I invested in and paid full price for Guardians. They completely went a different direction, and I'm glad they did, because Avengers was trash. Now, let's talk, though, real quick, because Captain Kirk, you brought up an interesting point about multiplayer, and there's been a new game that dropped on Game Pass for Xbox players, Halo Infinite. Finally, like, we got a taste of what will be the next generation of multiplayer experience with Halo. It came out, and Mace, I know you've had some time with it. I would love to get your initial reactions of the multiplayer. And then, Captain Kirk, I'm coming to you about the evolution of the multiplayer of Halo, because I know you and I got some history with that. But Mace, before we jump into that, man, what have been your initial reactions with Infinite, and what does the Halo franchise and multiplayer mean to you?
You know, it's different compared to the multiplayer games that I play now. I play a lot of Call of Duty, Apex. But man, playing this game, man, it just took me back to my college days, playing in the dorms with my buddies.
Yep.
It's dope. It's dope. And it's free. Halo Infinite is free. Now, they are doing the whole season pass thing, you know, like everybody else. But it's worth the play, man. I know, you know, most of you guys are PlayStation lovers, you know. And, you know, I wish my boy Z Ali was here. You know, he could definitely go there with me. But it's fun, man. It's free. It's a free download. Like I said, if you want that feeling of nostalgia, hey, give it a shot.
Captain Kirk, I gotta ask, man, because you know, for the listeners out there who aren't familiar, so Captain Kirk and I, you know, we were freshman roommates in college, and Halo was a whole experience, man. So I want to ask you, you know, while we're reflecting on Halo and what it means for this multiplayer to be back, what were your memories with like Halo, and are you at all excited for like this next iteration of it?
Well, we get into that competition piece I was talking about earlier. I don't think I ever completed the Halo story for the original. With that being said, I remember obsessing about getting better because it was people destroying us
Yep.
on a daily.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
And so, yeah, I remember waking up playing that shit. I remember the laughs people used to give me when they was two to the chest, one to the head.
Yes. Yes.
I remember when I first started getting better at it and motherfuckers was cheering me on. I was acting like I just got my fucking diploma and graduated because I was like, shit, like they finally see me. But yeah, that's it.
Hey man, I gotta say when Captain Kirk and I were in college, he's being, I think, a bit modest. He was actually very good on the sticks. I was maybe third tier down, but Captain Kirk might have been second. But the thing is, when we were in college and Halo 1 came out, you would get off an elevator on any floor of the dorm, and all you would hear is the theme song. Oh, like every floor was playing it. And back then, like, you knew the network play, so you knew like you were playing with people who were in close proximity with you, like other dorms. And so like people got to know each other based off their gamer tag. You'd be going to class like, yo, that's so-and-so. And for us, like being in freshman year, like I just remember like struggling with grades because that game, like it required so much attention. We weren't paying that attention in class. So like, I just remember like at that point, you had guys that you were just trying to be better than. And shout out to Lance Hall, WIU, aka Sick With It. Like I was determined to be better than that guy. Like I just did not want to be seen as second best to Lance Hall. And that was my whole goal. Like I gotta get this dude in Halo. But there were these rivalries that would like creep up against you and other people in the different dorms. But that was the beauty of Halo. Is like you got a chance to talk shit to people that you actually were in close proximity to. I'm hoping that like with this new generation of like Halo players that comes back because man, that was one of the best times. Like, I mean, I almost failed some classes. I probably did fail a few classes playing Halo 1. But listen, let's talk about so Mace, you mentioned Game Pass, which it's a part of. And just this week, it was announced that Sony is working on a competing Game Pass service. In a report, Bloomberg says sources familiar with Sony's plans share details of a new service code named Spartacus, where PlayStation owners can pay a monthly fee for access to a library of modern and classic games. This is the same model used for Xbox's popular Game Pass service. Now, having a few days now to process this announcement, the first question I have for the Blerds is whether you see this as a good move, a bad move, or an unnecessary move on Sony's part. And Mace, since you brought it up, I'm coming to you first. What do you think about this decision from Sony?
I'm not surprised. It seems like that's the route that we're all going with is the subscription base. I just caved and bought the Nintendo $50 joint.
Ooh.
Yeah, I know. Shame on me. But I think it's unnecessary for Sony because they're already they're at the top.
Yeah.
They're the Titan in this game right now. Like, why do you need to introduce a subscription to get more money out of your fans, out of your, they can't even buy a PlayStation right now. You still can't get a PlayStation. So why do you need to introduce a subscription?
Yeah.
Like, you just stay at the top, keep going with the model that you're going with, and then just, ride it out. Let Xbox do their thing with the subscription.
Mm-hmm.
Nintendo, let them do their little thing or whatever. But people are complaining about that also. That's another topic for another day.
Yeah.
Just continue what you're doing, Sony. You don't need to introduce the subscription.
Wow.
Because it's going to be high, too. They probably going to
It's going to be high.
All right, $70 for the subscription.
Yeah, it's going to be high. And we're going to have to pay that fee. But let me ask you this. As somebody who's already paying for the same type of service through Game Pass, through Nintendo, would if Sony dropped theirs and it had access to all of their backwards compatible games from PS1 to PS4, and you got all the new games, would you be willing to pay? As somebody who's paying already for the other subscription services, would you be willing to pay Sony for their subscription service?
Look, man, I'm a simp when it comes to this game and stuff. So I probably would pay.
Right.
Would I want to? No.
Would you want
but I
to?
probably
No,
would.
but yeah, realistically, yeah, probably.
Pick up my credit card, man. Damn.
Now, Captain Kirk, let me ask you, as more of a casual gamer, like somebody who jumps in and out every now and then, do you see something like this, like a service where like you could pay monthly, but you have full access to the entire Sony library? Would you rather pay that, or would you rather just pay for a game at your leisure? Like whenever you feel like playing a game, just buying whatever that game is full price for that season?
Since I am a negligent game console owner, I would say I would like to pay for it as I have the passion to play.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think a subscription, because I've been playing for PlayStation Plus for some time now, and I don't think I've touched my game. So they just been making money off of me.
Yep.
I ain't getting Plus benefits at all for my PS4. So yeah. If I was gaming heavy though,
Yeah.
I would probably mess with a subscription if I got back in my habits, for sure. I just feel like it's convenient. I ain't got to worry about necessarily downloading. Is it like you stream the new game? You stream it?
Yeah. Isn't that how
And they
Game
save
Pass
it?
is, Mace, where it's like streaming a game?
No. You can stream it, but you download the game and you just own it while you pay for the subscription. But once you cancel the subscription, you don't have the game anymore.
Okay.
And then some games are available for a limited time, because I have the Xbox Game Pass for PC. Some of them are available for a limited time, and then they'll take it away.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So
HBO Max in your ass, huh?
yeah, basically, man. It's like, damn, I might as well get cable. I'm paying for all these subscriptions, man.
Pretty much. That's what it's getting to a game. I mean, personally, and I know we're going to go into more detail about this. Tobias Black on the next episode, I want him to share his opinion, because he has a whole opinion about game developers and how this hurts them. I will say, I think that the move is going to be towards subscription services, like across the board. But all of the major companies are leaning towards more predictive revenue models, and this is just one way for Sony to capitalize off of that. Like, we can get a predictive revenue stream and make people pay for the subscription. It's better than us having to wait till we drop a game and see if people are going to buy it or not. And I think that's going to be the move in gaming for a while. But I am interested in seeing them try to match something with Game Pass, because I'll be honest, that's been the one selling point for Xbox so far. They haven't had the exclusives, but if you give me the choice between exclusives and just a library of content that like I get access to, new and old games, that's a value add. And I think that Sony's finally, decided not to just ignore that, but to actually come up with something competing in that space. And I'm excited to see it. I believe in competition. I think it could only make both sides better. So we'll see what comes of it. But hey, listen, that's been all of the major topics that we had for this first show back. So we're going to call it here. I just want to quickly say that, as always, we want to thank those of you who have been out here tuning into Blerds. We got a ton of content out there to discuss, and we'd love to hear from you. If there are shows or movies or games, anime that we missed talking about, tell us about that. Like, go online, tag us at Blerds the Word on Facebook, Insta, or Twitter. Let us know if you have suggestions on things that we should be watching. We'll bring that onto the show. We'll talk about it. We'll review it. But we want this to be also driven by you. So we just want to make that quick call out. But until next time, Blerds, we want to thank you for tuning in. We want to say a quick shout out to all of our friends of the show and my co-hosts who couldn't be here today. We'll see you on the next one. And until next time, Blerds out. Blerds, the work might be J Supreme. Blerds, the work is Z Ali. Captain Kirk. Blerds, the work circa 85. Tobias Black.